This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've got Anthony Brown here. Anthony is a agent with Royal LePage Atlantic in Halifax. And I would venture to guess that there aren't many people in real estate that knows adversity like Anthony. So Anthony, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day today to get this done for us. We really appreciate you.
My pleasure, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Okay, I'm just gonna flip my camera off. We're gonna let you get right into it. Anybody who's on the call, if you would please keep your video and your audio off and muted until the end. And then at the end, we're gonna ask everybody to turn everything on. It'll be full steam ahead with video, full steam ahead with audio. You can ask Anthony any questions you want, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'm happy to stick around for as long as people want when we're all said and done here.
Okay. You're on.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today, guys. My name is Anthony Brown, and I'm a realtor in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I'm also a real estate trainer and motivational speaker. And I'm doing a session today called Prospering in a Pandemic. You know, I've faced a lot of adversity in my life. I've been through a lot of ups and downs, a lot of challenging times. And I really believe with the right mindset, with the right outlook on things, people can really prosper in any situation. I really do believe that, and hopefully you guys see some things today in this presentation that make you believe that as well, and kind of get your mind set right and prosper through these challenging times. Now, before we get into this, I want to make sure that people know, you know, everyone's situation is a little bit different. I'm certainly not telling everyone to go out and show a whole bunch of homes or do anything that makes kind of people feel like their safety's in jeopardy. These are all things that I'm doing and that I would suggest that people could do if they're in a situation similar to mine. If you have someone at home that's high risk, or if you yourself is high risk, or if you're not comfortable, you know, definitely don't think of this as me trying to tell you guys to go out and continue on with business as usual. It's certainly not that, but I do think there's a lot of opportunity. And you see down the bottom of my screen there, 80-20 to 95-5. That's a little theory that I've come up with. I've analyzed some MLS data over the last little while, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. But for those of you that don't know me, I'm sure there's some people on that have seen me before. I'm sure there's some people on that don't know who I am. If you don't really know me, there's a few things in life that I love. So I love coffee. Coffee is the thing that fuels my life. It's my favorite thing to drink, and I love coffee more than anything else that I could possibly consume. I love playing golf. Who knows if we're going to be able to golf this year or not, but I find golf's a great strategy game. It's a great peak performance game, something I love. That's my family. So my beautiful wife, Pam, and my two boys, Max and Donnie, they're 6 and 4. I love them to death. And I love selling real estate. If you've ever spent any time with me, I can't not talk about real estate. I love it. I fell in love with real estate towards the end of my first year in university. So when I was 20 years old, I was at the University of New Brunswick, and I decided to buy a rental property that I rented rooms out to some of my buddies, and you know, instead of paying someone else rent to live in someone else's house through university, I made a little bit of money from charging my friends rent to live in my place. And you know, once the renovations were done, once the rooms were all kind of rented out, I was fully hooked. I was fully hooked on real estate, and I do love it. To this day, I love selling real estate. And when I say that I've overcome some things in my life, I'm not saying that lightly. You know, I've gone through some things in my life, and this little video here is going to show you guys. So this is me on my 25th birthday. So that's February 14th, 2009. And believe it or not, those are some of my first steps that I took that year. So that's my birthday on Valentine's Day 2009. So when I tell you guys that I faced adversity and challenges, I'm not lying to you. So that's a picture of me January 9th, 2009. So I graduated from the University of New Brunswick in 2008, and I entered the corporate world. I was a senior manager for a company in Fredericton. And there was a lot of things I liked about that job. You know, I liked running a company. I learned a lot from my position there. And who knows, if things had gone differently, I might still be working for that same company today. But on January 9th, 2009, like I said, my life took a pretty crazy turn. So like a day like any other, I was walking up the side of the road right on the university campus, and a guy hit me from behind with his minivan. I flipped up over his hood, and my head shattered his windshield. I woke up from a coma about a week later, completely paralyzed on the left side of my body. So if you drew a line down the middle of my body, everything to the left side of that line was paralyzed. Nothing worked. So my left arm didn't work, my left leg didn't work, the left side of my face didn't work. I remember smiling, and the right side of my mouth would smile, and the left side of my mouth would just hang there droopy. So adversity, challenges, that is adversity and challenges. That is one of the worst things that could ever happen to someone. I truly believe that. But what I found and what I learned as I went through my recovery is that there's opportunity, there's growth in challenges, and that's hopefully what I get to take you guys through today. Now, I mentioned that I love real estate, and I do. I love selling real estate. People would say that I'm obsessed with it. But like I said, I didn't pursue real estate right away, however. So after my accident, I was eventually able to move back out on my own again, and there came a time that I was going to be able to go back to work. Now I thought to myself, if I was going to have another chance at a career, if I was going to have a second go at finding a career, at finding a career and succeeding, I wanted to sell real estate. I had always thought about it. I was always on those real estate simulators, seeing how I would do in this fictitious real estate sales world. And I always thought about it, and it was always something I wanted to do. So I said, you know what, by golly, I'm going to sell real estate. Now, there's only one obstacle to that. I didn't have a driver's license. So when you have an accident like the one that I had and you have a brain injury, they actually take your driver's license away from you until you're able to go through the driving program at the hospital, do your road test, and get your driver's license back. But that wasn't going to stop me. I went down to the bus station. I got myself a Metro Transit pass, went down to the real estate commission, wrote my real estate license and passed, put on my suit and tie, and I was ready to start selling real estate. Adversity, challenges, opportunity. I was so happy to be selling real estate. I loved it. It didn't matter that I had to ride the bus to every showing, every listing presentation, every open house. I was going to succeed. It was inevitable. I was going to succeed. And as I started in real estate, I quickly noticed that there was a big difference between what the top agents in my office were doing and what everyone else was doing. And I thought to myself, I'm going to be a top producer. That's what I'm going to be. If I'm going to sell real estate, I want to be amazing at it. I want to be great. So I did the things that I saw them doing. I mirrored what they were doing. I did the open houses. I went on listing presentations. I showed homes. I door knocked. I cold called. I did all these things. But the reality was I was doing it from the bus. I remember some days, no word of a lie, I would be on the bus for 3 or 4 hours of my working day. Working 10, 11 hours a day, but 3 or 4 hours of that would have been on the bus. I remember talking to clients and booking showings, and I would have MLS open on one screen, and I would have the Metro Transit schedule open on the other screen, and I would be lining up my showings with clients based on the Metro Transit schedule because I had to ride the bus. Typically, I would ride the bus to the first showing, and then from that point on, I would go with my client in their car to all the other houses. And then at the end of our showings, I'd have to catch the bus and go back to my office or back to my house. But I didn't care. I was just so happy to be selling real estate. I'll tell you though, I used to get some pretty funny looks. So in my first year in the business, I did a lot of open houses. So I did open houses almost every Saturday and Sunday. And of course, I would have to take the bus to my open houses. And we all know our open house signs are in those big metal A-frame holders. So here I am. I only have one hand. I can't use my left hand. Remember, it's paralyzed. I have 3 open house signs. I have a box of flyers. I have my briefcase. I'm all wearing a suit, and I'm loading everything up onto the bus. And people are looking at me like I have 3 heads. Like I used to get some really funny looks when I was going to open houses, but it didn't bother me. I was just so thrilled to be selling houses. Remember this common theme. In adversity and challenges, in challenging times, there's opportunity. There's huge opportunity. Now, if that's not enough to kind of get you guys established with the fact that I've been through a lot in my life, let's have a look at my 2020. So this is how my year so far has gone in 2020. I know we've all had a challenging year. So no word of a lie, I was so fired up. January 1 of 2020, I was so fired up. So Leanna Coyle, who was actually the second person that ever worked on my team back in like 2013, I think, had just come back. She was working with me again. I was really pumped up for a huge year. So that's January 1st. I had a couple good weeks. January 18th, I fell down the stairs of my house and broke my collarbone. 3 surgeons told me it was the worst collarbone break they had ever seen. So my collarbone split in half laterally this way and broke down the middle. Not so great. So that's January 18th. It gets better. January 3rd, I went in for surgery. So they put a metal plate in my shoulder, screwed it into the collarbone, screwed my collarbone back together, and then hooked it into my shoulder joint. So that was February 3rd. The operation went well, but I had a really bad reaction to the painkillers that they were giving me in the hospital. So I ended up staying in the hospital for a week. No big deal. February 8th, I come back home. I got this big metal plate in my shoulder. By the way, it's still there because they're not doing surgeries right now. So for the time being, I'm stuck with this metal plate in my shoulder. February 8th, I come back home feeling good, ready to get back into sales. You know, the team was still cooking along. I was pretty pumped up. Mid-March, it's a freaking global pandemic. I'm like, man, could this year get any worse? So January 1st, I wake up, I'm pumped. January 18th, break my collarbone. February 3rd, surgery. February 8th, I get back home. Mid-March, global pandemic. My business growth year to date this year, I'm at 47% year to date. Now that's including the week in the hospital. That's including the 3 weeks that I had to spend in a chair in my living room with a broken collarbone. In adversity and challenges, in tough times, there's huge opportunity. And you know, I want you guys to know that I've been there. I want you guys to know that I've been through some pretty terrible things in my life. And here I am. You know, reality is everyone that's on this call right now, everyone that's alive right now has lived through, we've succeeded every day of our lives up to this point. We've made it through every day up to this point. What makes you think we're not going to get through tomorrow? What makes you think we're not going to get through the next day? What makes you think we're not going to get through the next couple weeks, the next month, the next quarter, the next year? History has shown us that we've succeeded at life every single day up to this point. It's a really great way to look at things. And it kind of changes, like I said, like that mindset. You got to change your paradigm around this stuff. And the first thing is that you guys really need to learn and really need to think that adversity is a great thing. Challenges are great things. Failure is a great thing. These are all good things. Adversity, challenges, and failure are all amazing things in our lives. And I'll tell you why. Most of us spend our lives trying to avoid things that are going to go wrong, try to avoid adversity. You know, we want to make sure that nothing goes wrong in our lives. That seems sensible, right? And when things do go wrong, a lot of us take the mindset of, how could this happen to me? Why me? Why today? You know, you hit a red light, you hit another red light, you hit another red light. You know, come on, today of all days, why me? Why me? Why today? How could this happen to me? And when you look at it, most people are going to spend the majority of their life trying to prevent things from going wrong. That's just how people are. But what if you change your mindset? What if you change your paradigm about the way you look at these things? You know, there's a great proverb, and I love this. A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. We can't improve. We can't grow. We can't get better at things. We can't truly prosper without these trials and tribulations. Now, there's a couple things that I learned from my time kind of going through my accident, going through my recovery, is that you just don't know your own strength until you're tested. I had no idea about the things that I was capable of doing, the things that I was capable of achieving, or where I could go with my life until I went through these things, until I had the adversity, I had the challenges. And that's all of life's problems and challenges. That's the way we test ourselves. And there's a few fundamental things I want to talk to you guys about today that can really help with this mindset shift, this paradigm shift. And I think there's some really applicable information to the real estate market. And I'm going to go through and we're going to kind of have a little bit of a dialogue of how these things can apply to your real estate career. So challenges, adversity, failure, reality is, guess what? More people aren't going to be approved for mortgages because people are getting laid off. You know, do you think it's going to be harder to sell real estate next year if 15% of your population is laid off in your market? Probably. Do you think there's opportunity there? Absolutely. You know, all of life's problems and challenges are how we can truly grow. So what if instead of cursing our problems, what if instead of getting mad at times of adversity and challenging times, we actually relish them? What if we were thankful for the opportunity to grow, the opportunity to expand our comfort zone? Because overcoming obstacles in life, that's the path to fulfillment. That's the path to growth. It really is. I really believe that. There's a great quote. It's Booker T. Washington. He says, success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life as the obstacles which he has overcome. And I really believe that. Instead of looking at the end result, instead of looking at where someone is, look at what they've gone through to get there. There's no such thing as overnight success, guys. You know, a lot of people look at me and they might not know my story. They might not know the things I went through. They might say, oh, you know, Anthony's good. You know, he's got it made. He's got a lot of clients. He's got a team working for him. Guess what? I didn't have a lot of clients. I didn't have a team. When I was riding the bus to work every day, when I was riding the bus to every showing, to every open house, I didn't have a lot of clients. I didn't have a big database. I'm not from Halifax. I'm from Truro, which is about an hour north of here. I didn't have a big center of influence. It was hard work. It was persevering through the adversity and persevering through the challenges that got me to where I am today. And I really believe that. So what if we look at this global pandemic as a good thing? I mean, it's not a good thing, but it's an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to grow ourselves personally and professionally. You have no idea what you're capable of achieving in life until you've gone through something like this. And there's a few things that I want to talk about. So, this is the 80-20 rule I was talking about at the start. So everyone, I hope everyone on here is familiar with the 80-20 rule. I can't see your text. I don't have your mics on, but I'm going to assume that everyone at some point has heard about the 80-20 rule. So that's the sales concept that 20% of agents or 20% of salespeople are going to do 80% of the business. But I think I've been doing a lot of research. I've been looking at the historical MLS data for the Halifax area. I think that the 80-20 rule is a sliding number. It's not a static number. I think it's a sliding number, and I think it slides with the times. So take, for example, the market here in Halifax in 2012. So 2012, we had the shipbuilding announcement here. Our market exploded, went crazy. I think that anyone with a real estate license made a decent income in 2012. I might be wrong by that, but most people did. And I would say that at that time, in a market like that, the 80-20 rule probably slid more towards a 60-40 rule, maybe even closer to a 50-50 rule, in that, you know, 40% of the agents did 60% of the business. But then if you look at the flip side of that, like take the market crash of 08, I would say that in the market crash of 08, based on the historical MLS data that I was looking at, it was more of a 90-10 rule. So about 10% of the agents in my market did about 90% of the business. And if you look at the opportunity during a global pandemic and kind of the economic fallout that's going to come out of this, there will be some ripple effect of the economy coming out of this. But I think we're going to shift to more of a 95-5 rule. I think that around 5% of the agents are going to do around 95% of the business. So which group do you want to be in? And I'm guessing by the fact that you took the time out of your schedules to be on this call, you want to be in the 5%. I want to be in the 5%. Absolutely. I think that the 80-20 rule isn't a static number. Like I said, I think it's a sliding metric. And I think that as times get tough, it slides more towards that 95-5 rule. So you think about it. Is it going to be a little bit harder to sell real estate in a couple months? It might be. Is it going to be harder if, again, 15% of your market is laid off? Is it going to be harder to find qualified buyers? It might be. Are they still going to be out there? Absolutely. Is it going to be a little bit harder to find them? Probably. But they're still going to be out there. And that's what I learned when I had to take the bus to my office every day. By the way, I took the bus to every sales meeting, the office every day. I took it to every showing. You know, that that instilled this work ethic in me because I saw this amazing opportunity to grow personally and professionally. And I think that's where we're coming. There's certainly challenging times ahead, and there's no doubt about that. I think the real estate market as a whole in Canada is still going to be fairly intact when we come out of this. So I was looking at some data across different markets, and across the country, we are in a little bit of a seller's market in most markets going into this. I think there's going to be some pent-up demand. I think there's going to be people looking. I think the market's going to be busy when we come out of this. But again, I think the issues are going to be the financing. If people can afford to sell their house, if people have the investments for the down payment. A lot of people were going to contribute from their RSPs into their down payment. Will your RSPs still be worth the same when we come out of this? There are going to be challenges, but it's going to be that 5% of the population of agents that will do the 95% of the business. I really believe that. And there's some fundamental practices that I think you really need to implement into your business to be in that 5%. And one of those is your goals. I think that goals are so important. So let me take you back. So when I was in the rehab hospital, so I was hit by a minivan January 9th, 2009, and I spent the majority of my recovery in the rehab hospital here in Halifax. And I had always known the importance of goals. I'd always been preached that by coaches, coming up as a high performance athlete, that goals were so important. But it was really in the rehab hospital that I saw the power of goals. So the rehab hospital that I was in Halifax was a very goal-driven environment. It's an interdisciplinary focus on medicine. So the occupational therapist talks to the physiotherapist, talks to the nursing staff, talks to the doctors. They all work together to form these goals for the patients. And everything you do at the hospital moves you towards these goals. And yes, goals are important, but it's the daily actions, it's the consistent effort that get us to our goals. So I'll never forget, I had a therapist in the rehab hospital. Her name was Natalie. She was fantastic. But the rest of my recovery progressed really well, except for my left hand. So my left hand wasn't recovering at the same pace as my leg or my arm or my shoulder or these other parts of my body. And I used to get really frustrated because we'd set all these goals and I didn't seem like I was ever going to achieve them with my left hand. We do silly things like try to open and close a clothespin, try to pick things up off the table. These little simple things that I just couldn't seem to accomplish, like these little goals, and I just couldn't seem to get there. And I remember Natalie sat me down one day and she could tell I was getting frustrated with this. And she said, Anthony, don't focus so much on the end result. If you're showing up every day, if you're putting in this consistent effort, it's inevitable that you're going to move towards your goal. And that's something that stuck with me. It stuck with me. It'll stick with me for the rest of my life. Goals are so important, but it's the daily actions, it's the consistent effort that get us to our goals. By the way, I know your mics are off. I want to ask you guys a question. Do you guys think that our goals should change during a global pandemic? I would say no. I mean, they might have to at some point, but just going into COVID-19 and what the real estate market's going to look like after COVID-19, I don't think our goals need to change. I think our goals can stay the same. But do you think the daily actions and the daily effort that we need to put in is going to change? Absolutely. So let's go back to the example of the layoff. So say 15% of your marketplace is laid off when we come out of this. Do you think it's going to be harder to find qualified buyers? Absolutely, we've said that. But does that mean that your goals for the number of buyer deals that you want to have in 2020 should change? I'm not convinced it should. The daily actions, the things that you're going to do every day might have to change. Do you think you're going to have to generate more online leads and follow up with more online leads to get a qualified buyer? Probably. Do you think you're going to have to show more homes, do more buyer consultations, do more networking with your database to get referrals? Probably. So all of these daily actions and all of these daily efforts that go into our real estate practice may have to change, but I'm not convinced that our goals should have to change. I'm not convinced that the goals at the end of the day should have to change as a result of this. Again, look at my numbers for 2020. And again, those are my personal numbers. So those aren't even my team numbers. Those are my personal numbers. My business is up 47% year to date for closed and firm transactions over 2019. And I've spent a week in the hospital. I've spent 3 weeks at home on a couch, and now we're going into a global pandemic. There's a great saying, and it's kind of a little bit of a tagline. If you focus on the front line, the bottom line will take care of itself. So if you're focusing on those daily things, if you're focusing on the calls that you have to make, if you're focusing on the referrals that you need to get, if you're focusing on the touch points with your database, if you're focusing on these things, then the deals, the paychecks, the gross commission are going to take care of themselves. So yes, the goals are important, but it's the daily actions and the consistent effort that are equally as important. And there's a great theory. So I know a lot of you guys have heard this. It's been around for a long time. Zig Ziglar was the first person to kind of put this out there. I'm going to touch on it briefly. I'm not going to go into a great amount of detail with it, but it's called the be, do, have theory. And the be, do, have theory says that there's a natural flow to life. And that natural flow is to be, and then to do, and then to have. So look at my example from when I started in real estate. I didn't have a driver's license. I wasn't from Halifax. I didn't have a huge database of people that I knew, but I decided that I was going to be a top producing agent. I decided that I was going to be, I'm going to be at the top level of real estate. So I started doing the things that the top producers in my office were doing. I mimicked their behaviors, and everything that I have in my business is a result of that. So it doesn't matter what's going on in the environment around you. It doesn't matter that there's less qualified buyers, that less people want to look at homes. It doesn't matter. If you decide that you want to be a top producing agent and you do the things necessary to be a top producing agent, if you're gonna do the things required, you're gonna have that at the end of the day. So I didn't spend a lot of time on that, but moving along, there's a few other kind of concepts that I want to talk about. So focusing on the things that you can control. Now, this was an unbelievably powerful lesson that I learned as a result of my accident. And I think it's so important going through something like a global pandemic, going through COVID-19. Some days it feels like there's nothing that you can control. We have no idea what the world's going to look like when this is all said and done. Can we control how we're dealing with it today? Absolutely. Can we control what's going to happen next week? No. So if you focus on the things that you can control in life, you're going to be so much more productive. And I think a lot of people are so focused on the things that they can't control. Like, we have no control over the people that aren't self-isolating. We have no control over the people that aren't social distancing. We have no control over the testing procedures or the number of new cases reported. We have no control over the economy. We have no control over what the banks are going to do. Those are all things that we can't focus on. That's going to bring you down into this negativity. Don't focus on those things. Focus on the things that you can control. Focus on one thing that I've been having a lot of success with is I've been doing Zoom consultations with new buyer leads. So if we get a new lead that registers on our website and they say that they're looking to buy a house sometime in the next couple months, and they're actively looking, they're pre-qualified, instead of bringing them into the office, because our offices are closed right now, I'm doing a Zoom call with them. And then we're taking it one step further, and I'm sharing my screen. So similar to the way that we're doing this presentation right now, I'll share my screen with them, and we'll go through virtual tours or 3D walkthroughs of the properties that they're interested in. If there's no virtual tour, then we'll look at the pictures together and talk about what I think of the property, what I think of the price, what they think of. It's as if we're in the house showing it, except we're on a Zoom call. There's something that I can control. So I can't control the people that don't get qualified because of layoffs. I can't control the people that lose money in their RSPs right now because the market's down. By the way, if you have money in the market and the market's going to correct itself, I believe that the market's going to correct itself, and it's going to correct itself really quickly. The advice that I've been getting from people and kind of what I've been telling people is don't touch it. I think because you have no idea when the market's going to rebound. If you take your money out, you have to worry every day about when you're going to put it back in. So side note, the market will correct itself. The market will recover. I think all that stuff's going to be okay. But for the time being, people with money in RSPs that were going to take that money out to put a down payment on a house might not be able to. They might not have the same amount. You have no control over that. You do have control over the calls you make, over the value that you give to your database, over the touches that you're giving to the people in your neighborhood. You know, we reached out to everyone in our neighborhood and said, hey, we're around if you need anything, if you need something dropped off, we can definitely help you out. And we're looking forward to having a coffee or a beer when this is all said and done. I reached out to people in my database. I said, hey, you know, by the way, I have a list of all the phone numbers for all the major lenders in Canada. If you're thinking about, I don't know your situation, but if you're thinking about deferring your mortgage, I'd be happy to provide you with the right number to call. So we went through, those are all things that you can control. You can control the value that you give to people. Another great thing is knowledge. And there is so much of it available right now. You know, right now, this is a great example. Royal LePage has been phenomenal at bringing knowledge to their agents. You know, there's companies like Richard Robbins, Kathleen Black, David Greenspan, Andrew Fogliato. All these guys have opened up their playbooks. They're doing webinars, they're hosting Zoom calls, they're opening up their playbooks to agents. There's so much knowledge out there available to consume. And honestly, guys, like, I don't know about you guys, but I have a lot of extra time on my hands right now. We're still busy, we're still working. I'm still showing properties and listing properties for people that need to move. But I certainly have more time available for learning. And knowledge is absolutely power. And I'll give you guys a great example. So when I was in the hospital, I was in the rehab hospital, and I started reading books about brain injuries. I started reading books about hemiplegia, about living life in a two-handed world with only the use of one hand. And as I consumed more knowledge, as I learned more about my situation, I was able to recover better. I was able to recover quicker. And I attribute a lot of my success and a lot of my success, both in my recovery and in my business, to reading. There's some great stats about reading. And if you've heard me speak before, you've heard these numbers before, I love this stuff. It's so important. 75% of high school graduates in North America, after they graduate from high school, will go on to read one book or year per year or less for the rest of their lives. So 3/4 of people in North America that graduate from high school will go on for the rest of their life to read one book or less per year for the rest of their lives. The top earners, so the wealthiest people in North America, read on average one book per week, 52 books per year. And the executive level, top executive level employees of Fortune 500 companies read on average 60 books per year. Knowledge is absolutely power. And there's so many good books out there to read. If you're thinking about maybe getting into a couple good books when you're at home, or if you're in a 14-day quarantine, you know, let me know. I've got a great list of book suggestions for you guys. But knowledge is power. There's so much information out there. Consume it. I'm doing one webinar every day. Every day of the week, 7 days a week, I'm doing one webinar or one online learning thing. And I'm still reading. I want to read 78 books this year. That's my goal. So knowledge is absolutely power. And the other thing that I learned when I was in the hospital is that all of the hospital staff, the doctors, the therapists, even the janitorial staff in the hospital, they all knew so much about what I was going through. They all had such an amazing perspective on brain injuries, on the recovery process, on the best way to do it, that if I shut my mouth and I listened to people, I was able to consume so much knowledge. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, you probably don't know more about everything than anyone else in the room. It's the reality of the situation. If you close your mouth and open your ears, you can consume so much knowledge. Larry King has a great quote. He says, I remind myself every morning, nothing I say this day will teach me anything. So if I'm going to learn, I must do it by listening. You know, listen to people. They're, again, during this global pandemic, when a lot of people are working from home, you know, there's a lot of people that have opened up their playbook. It's there to be consumed completely free. You know, like I said, the Kathleen Blacks, Phil Soper did one with Royal LePage Richard Robbins did one with Phil Soper that was posted on the Royal LePage Learning the other day. You know, there's all these resources out there available for us. Take this time and consume amazing amounts of knowledge. There's so much of it available right now. Consume it all and be prepared, because when the market rebounds, because it will, you'll be so much more prepared to advance your career and to advance personally. And if you can only remember one thing, remember that you have one mouth and you have two ears. Every single person should listen twice as much as they talk. I firmly believe that. And that's equally, if not more important and more relevant during a time of crisis, during a time of trials and tribulations than any other time. There's so many new things to learn out there. So I'll tell you guys quickly, I think my business has become so much more streamlined right now. So how I meet with my team, how I meet with my admin staff, how we process deals, how we qualify leads, how we qualify sellers that are going to be listing their house possibly, how we qualify buyers. This stuff has all become so much more streamlined. Think about it. Right now, if someone that you've never met before calls you up on a sign call and says, hey, Chris, Chris Peters is on. Says, hey, Chris Peters, good buddy of mine. Hey, Chris Peters, we want to go see 123 Main Street at 8 p.m. on Tuesday. Can you show it to us? Chances are right now, Chris is going to say, unfortunately, we can't right now. We do have some pre-qualifying questions. Have you traveled outside? The problem is the last 14 days. Have you been in touch with anyone? Blah, blah, blah. Are you pre-approved for financing? Have you looked at any properties before? Would you be available to do a Zoom call to chat with me about the house beforehand? All of a sudden, we're going to spend so much more time qualifying that person before we show them the house than we used to. So I think that a lot of realtors have this 24/7 phobia. They think that if they're not available 24/7, they're going to lose business. And I don't think that's true. I really don't. Think about you with your dentist or your, what's another good example? Your lawyer, people like that. If you called up your dentist and said, hey dentist, hey doc, I'm hoping to get my teeth cleaned Thursday night at 8 p.m. Can you stencil me in? Your dentist is going to say, sorry, man, I can't. Call the front desk. We have some times available, 3 weeks from now or next week on Tuesday. Be happy to fit you in. And that's where I think real estate needs to go. And if there's a lot of good things I think that are going to come out of this global pandemic for our industry. And one of those is I think that we can make our sales process so much more streamlined. We're spending more time qualifying people. We're spending more time making sure that properties are actually what they want to buy. So how many agents out there, if a buyer called you up, say it's someone that say it's a referral from your database, you've worked with them before, they send you a list of 15 houses. Do you really go through and be honest with yourself here? Do you really go through and analyze those 15 homes and scrutinize which ones there's actually a good chance that they're going to buy? Or do you just book off an entire Saturday afternoon from your family and go show them 15 homes? And listen, guys, I'm guilty of this too. 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, if someone had called me up that was a referral, good, solid client, they're pre-approved, if they sent me a list of 15 homes that they wanted to see, I probably would have showed them all 15 homes. I'm not going to lie to you. But guess what? Today, I wouldn't. Right now, I wouldn't, because I don't really want to expose myself to 15 homes. I don't really want to go into 15 different homes that I hadn't been in before that I don't know about. So what we're doing is we're streamlining this process. So what I do now is I would book a Zoom call with the client and I would go through those 15 listings, again, share my screen just like I'm doing now, and go through those 15 listings, critique them, chat about them, have like really in-depth dialogue about these listings, and then maybe we can whittle that list of 15 down to 4 or 5. And now I'm leveraging my time. So first of all, I'm leveraging technology. There's all of these tools at our disposal that we have access to that a lot of us, including myself, like I've had a Zoom account for years that I've used with my team and that I've used with video calling with my parents and things like that. But I've never thought to do a buyer consultation on Zoom. I've never thought. I did my first listing presentation on Zoom the other day. So I actually had the client take their phone and take me around their house on Zoom. And it's not perfect. I was able to give them a rough idea of what their house would sell for in the current market. Well, that's all they were looking for. At least then I'm pre-qualifying them before I'm having to put on my gloves, get my hand sanitizer out, get my latex wipes or my wipes out, and go into the house and actually meet them face to face, 6 feet apart, mind you. But those leads are all so much more qualified now. So I think, oh, that was a big crash. Does anyone else have young kids at home? There's been a lot more crashes in my house recently. But what we're doing is we're qualifying, we're streamlining that process. And I think that's a really, really good thing that's going to come out of all this. So leverage that technology and utilize it. Another thing that you guys can do is embrace change and welcome it gracefully. So one key lesson that I learned as a result of my accident and my recovery was to embrace change and welcome it gracefully. After I was paralyzed, you know, I woke up from a coma. I don't remember a number of weeks after a coma, after I woke up from a coma, but my memory starts to fog in. And one thing I remember is I remember thinking like my life's over. I can't walk. I can't use my left arm. I can't see out of my left eye. And as my recovery went along, those thoughts kind of dragged me down. But as soon as I said, listen, I woke up one day and I said, listen, Anthony, your life is different now. Your life is different now. Let's accept it. Let's embrace it. And let's move on from it. As soon as I did that, I was able to progress so much quicker with so much more momentum. Guess what, guys? Life is different now. Real estate sales, they're different now. The economy, it's different now. The way people engage with each other, the way people interact with each other, it's different. And I don't think it's going to change. Whatever the new normal is that we're going to settle into after this is all said and done, it's going to be different. I promise you it's going to be different. So instead of holding on to that, instead of holding on to what we were 3-4 weeks ago, embrace it. Welcome the change into your life. You're going to be able to move forward so much more quickly and with so much more momentum and be so much more efficient if you just embrace this change that we're going through and welcome it gracefully. I really do think that, and that's going to leverage you towards that 95-5 versus that 80-20. I'll tell you guys another funny story. So speaking of leveraging technology in real estate, I will admit I was not one of the early adapters of e-signatures. So the only constant in life is change. So, you know, as we go through life, things are always going to be changing. That's the only consistent thing in life. And this global pandemic, COVID-19, that is a reality. That's the world now. So things are going to change. Don't resist it. Embrace the change. So back to my story about the e-signature. So, you know, my office came out early on and said, hey guys, we've partnered up with .loop. I think it was .loop. We partnered up with .loop. Everyone has a free e-signature account. Use it. We have training sessions, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, you know what? I'm good. My career was advancing pretty good at that point. I was doing a pretty good volume. I was moving forward with pretty good pace. I said, I'm pretty happy with the way things are going right now. I don't need this e-signature and stuff in my life. I don't want to complicate my business any more than it already is. So I was very, very resistant to this change. You know, I put my guard up and said, no, thank you. I'm good. Until I was put in a situation, so a number of months after e-signatures became kind of a reality in real estate, I was put in a situation, I had a house listed, my clients were backpacking in Europe. So their vacant house was listed, they were backpacking in Europe, the whole thing was planned, they wanted the house to be on the market while they were away. We got an offer like right away. And they were in the backwoods somewhere in Europe on a mountain, and they had no printer, no scanner, they had no fax machine, they had no ability to print and sign documents and send them back to me. And I said, okay, guys, hang on now. We have this great new thing called .loop. I can create a profile for you guys, upload the documents, and then send them to you for electronic signature, because they did have access to their email. So I scrambled, and I'm talking like I scrambled to create my profile, figure out how to use it. I think I was on the phone with my broker for a couple hours trying to figure it out, got the documents uploaded, and you know, like 15, 25 minutes later, a half an hour later, I had the offer and the counter offer signed from them back in my inbox, which I was then able to send back. I wouldn't have had that transaction if I hadn't have been on the e-signature train at that point. So I was very resistant to the change at first of e-signatures. And can you imagine what your business would be like right now if you didn't have e-signatures? Man, I remember the days, I don't know about you guys, but I remember the days of jumping in my car with a file of papers, driving to see a client 9, 10 o'clock at night, getting them to sign something in their pajamas. You know, I had changed out of my sweatpants or my shorts back into a suit to go see them. They're in their pajamas. Thank goodness those days are gone. And think about what a difference e-signatures have made with this COVID-19 thing. It allows us to do our business and not have to engage face-to-face as much. But the moral of that story is don't be resistant to this change. COVID-19, although sometimes it doesn't feel real, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I wake up and I think I'm in a movie, or I think I'm having a bad dream. It's here. It's not going away. It's going to be here for a while. Don't be resistant to it. Embrace it, welcome it, and you'll be in that 5%. I really believe that. Another great thing that we can implement, and guys, we can start doing this today. There is absolutely nothing in the world that can replace optimism and positivity. Absolutely nothing. It's going to get you more sales. It's going to have better relationship with your spouse. It's going to have a better relationship with your kids. During this time, if you're optimistic, if you're positive, it's going to completely change the way everyone in your life interacts with you. It's going to change the results in your life. I promise you this. So when I was in the hospital, I'm a pretty positive guy by nature. I'm pretty optimistic. I'm pretty positive from a general perspective. But there were days after my accident where I was like, man, like this sucks. I really am not happy about this. And I had down days. I would get sad. I would get down. I would get depressed about things. But what I noticed, so I do a lot of review and reflection. So I review on my day and I reflect on it and I try to learn from every day. So when I was in the hospital and I was going through my recovery, one day I was kind of thinking back on it on a not so great day that I had. And I was thinking that, you know, the way that people had interacted with me was different. So I was down, I was feeling sad, I didn't have a smile on my face, I wasn't kind of outgoing, I wasn't optimistic, I wasn't positive. And what that did was it changed the way that people interacted with me. So even the professionals, so even the doctors, the nurses, the therapists, they would treat me differently if I had that mentality, if I was down, if I wasn't feeling upbeat, if I wasn't feeling positive. And it just made the days drag on longer. You know, my friends and family that would come to visit me, they weren't as positive. They didn't smile as much. It just made the days drag on. And guys, listen, these days, like right now, 2 weeks at home, I don't think our offices are going to open anytime soon. The days can start to drag on. But if you focus on the positive things, if you focus on the positivity in things, it's going to completely change the course of your days and the course of your lives. So what I did, instead of thinking about how much my life kind of sucked right now, or you know how I wasn't super happy, I thought about, listen, Anthony, you are so freaking lucky to be alive. You know, the guy that hit me, he was driving a minivan, hit me from behind. I flipped up over his hood and my head shattered his windshield. If he had been 1 inch to the left, 1 inch to the right, if he was driving 1 kilometer/hour faster, 1 kilometer/hour slower, if the wind had changed, if any one thing changes at that split second, I very well could have been dead. Can you imagine? How lucky am I to be alive? How lucky am I to have this second chance at life? And so I started to think that way. I started to change my mindset. I changed my paradigm. I changed the way I thought about things. And that in turn changed everything about my life. I really, really, really believe that. So choose to be happy. By the way, guys, so happiness is a choice. It's a great book. It's called 10% Happier. If you haven't read 10% Happier, read it. It's one of the best things that you can read in your life. I promise you. Another great book, The Happiness Equation. 2 great books about happiness. But happiness is a choice. So this has been proven through science that we can prove to be happy, or sorry, prove to choose happiness. We can choose to be happy. In any situation, you can choose to be happy. You know, we can be happy about a variety of things in life. And if you don't believe me, try smiling. Try smiling and not feeling happy. You can't do it. You can't make yourself smile and not feel happy. It's impossible. This is scientifically proven. Try it right now. Everyone sit there with a straight face. Think about how you're feeling. Now smile. Think about how you're feeling. It's amazing. By the way, if you're prospecting, if you're calling people on the phone, if you're doing database calls, smile when you're on the phone. people can hear it. People can hear the difference in your voice when you're smiling. Sorry, side note. But you can choose to be happy in any given situation. We can choose to be happy. You know, for the first year of my real estate career, I rode the bus. I rode Metro Transit. Can you imagine riding the city bus to every listing appointment, to every buyer presentation, every showing, every office meeting? Can you imagine riding the city bus? By the way, so funny story. So I used to ride the city bus to every office meeting. Our office meetings were on Tuesday. And that was my one day of the week that I loved to be on the bus, because there's a Concepts beauty school that was right beside my office. And on Tuesday mornings, all of the ladies that were going to the beauty school classes were on the bus with me when I was going to my office. That was my favorite time of the day, favorite time of the week to be on the bus. But I chose to be happy. In that situation, I chose to be happy. Happiness is absolutely a choice, guys. You know, we're in a global pandemic right now. It's true. But you can still choose to be happy. There's lots of things to be thankful for. There's lots of things to be grateful for. A great habit, if you want to start implementing this practice into your life, if you want to start choosing today to be happy, every night before you go to bed, write down and then read out 5 things you're grateful for. So write down on a notepad beside your bed 5 things you're grateful for, and then read them out loud. I promise you that you're going to be happy. And by the way, guys, this all goes back to the be, do, have. If you choose today to be happy, I'm going to be a happy person. Happiness isn't necessarily a reaction or emotion. Happiness is a choice. It's a state of being. I'm going to choose today that regardless of what's going on, I'm going to be happy. So I'm going to start to do the things that a happy person would do. And whatever I'm going to have as a result of that. So that's how you would do it in the natural flow of life. Choose to be happy. Happiness is absolutely a choice, and it's going to impact your business. So I know a lot of the stuff I'm talking about is kind of, you know, about your life and your personal life, but it also has a reflection on your business. If you're happy, deals have a funny way of finding you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're in a bad mood, if you're down, if you're frustrated, if you're angry, does this not seem like things kind of fall apart? A buyer can't get financing, a home inspection doesn't go well, you hit a red light, you're late for a showing. But if you choose to be happy, if you have a different intention, if your intention is to be a happy person, all of those things suddenly change, because you know what? It's not that you're not going to hit a red light, but it's not going to matter. It's not that a deal is not going to fall apart, but it's not going to affect you, because you're choosing to be happy, and things are going to go better for you, I promise. Another great thing, and I think this is so important in a time like this, is focus on giving. Giving is an amazingly powerful way to live your life. If you live your life in a giving state of mind, it's an incredibly powerful way of living your life. And I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about how I kind of learned about this. But first, I want to kind of tell you about how it's impacted my real estate business. So when COVID-19 kind of hit Nova Scotia and people started to become really concerned about it, because, you know, there's a lot of people on the call today from other parts of Canada, but COVID-19 came to Nova Scotia a little bit later. You know, we were a few days, a week behind most of the country. So when it hit Nova Scotia, the first thing that I thought of was, how can I bring value to the people I know? How can I bring value to my current clients? How can I bring value to the people in my neighborhood? How can I bring value to real estate agents that I know? How can I bring value to my brokerage? I took a really hard look at my life, the skill set that I have, what I bring to other people, how I can impact other people's lives. And all I did was I started to focus on giving. By the way, I started a Facebook group. It's called Quick Quarantine Training Videos. So every day I jump on a live call, or I bring someone on for a live call. And all I'm doing is I'm just trying to add value to real estate agents that I know. I'm trying to post more relevant articles in our office Facebook group. I'm trying to help people more. I'm trying to bring more value to people. That's what it's all about, guys. People that do this, people that focus on giving at a time where everyone has this fearful mindset. If you're focused on bringing as much value as you can to everyone that you know, it sets you apart, guys. Yes, it's a great way to live your life, but it's also a great way to attract business into your life. Have a look at your database. So the first thing I did, I looked at people that were in my database, current clients, past clients, people that I knew, people in my neighborhood that had traveled. If they were in a 14-day mandatory quarantine, I sent them a quick message and said, hey, by the way, guys, I know you just got back from a trip. I'm still out. I still have a few meetings every day. I'm out and about. If you guys need something dropped off on your porch, I know you probably have friends and family that are helping you out, and that's great. But if you need something, I'm around. Let me know what I can do to help you. I was posting things in our community Facebook group, resources for the community. I've put some resources together for people that have kids at home from school. I called all my past clients that have bought a house with me, and I had the phone numbers for all the national lenders if people were hoping to defer their mortgage payments. I'm calling people, by the way, the best database call that you guys can make right now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you call people in your database, and this is for kind of like your AB people, and say I'm calling Chris Peters. I know I'm picking on you, Chris, but I might call Chris and say, hey, Chris, how's it going, buddy? How you making out with all this craziness? The kids are at home, chit-chat a little bit, building some rapport, having a great chat with Chris. And I'm going to say, you know what, Chris, listen, I know you got a support system. I know you got people around you that are helping you out. If there's anything that I can do, man, let me know. More as a friend, just let me know what I can do to help you out. And by the way, Chris, I'm really looking forward, and this is the key point. Chris, I'm really looking forward to when all this is over, we can sit down and grab a coffee, grab a beer, and catch up. I'm really looking forward to that, man. That is a powerful database touch, a very, very powerful database touch. And it becomes, oh, sorry, I saw someone pop up. And it becomes even more powerful if it's someone that has a small business, if it's someone that owns a local shop. Say someone in your database, past client of yours, has a coffee shop up the street. You might call them. You might say, hey, Chris, I know you guys are probably going through a tough time right now. If there's anything that I can do to help you guys out, like share your posts on social media, if you want me to do anything like that, if you want to jump on a live call so I can interview you about how you're doing your deliveries around the neighborhood, please just let me know. And by the way, Chris, I'm really looking forward to getting back in your coffee shop when this is all said and done and picking up my favorite light roast. That is a powerful, powerful, powerful touch with your database. So focus on giving. And how I learned this, so when I was in the hospital, my parents dropped everything they had to do in their lives, and all they did was give to me. So my mom and dad are pretty busy people, but when I was in the hospital after my accident, all my parents were focused on were giving as much of themselves to me and my recovery as possible. That was all they wanted to do. And it was an amazing lesson because I was like a lot of people before my accident. I was like a lot of people, I was focused on getting. I wanted to get things. I wanted to have this, get this, get this. But really, the most powerful way to live your life is to focus on giving. So when I was in the hospital, and I kind of learned this lesson from my parents, it was really instilled in me by a hand of crib. So this was back when I was still in my wheelchair. It was one evening in the hospital, and I wheeled down to the patient lounge on the 7th floor, and there was an older gentleman named Rick, and he was sitting on a table looking at a crib board. And I wheeled over, and guys, like, this is ingrained in my brain. I'll never forget this. I wheeled over, and I was like, hey, Rick, just checking in. I see you have a crib board there. I love to play crib. Do you like to play? And Rick had a stroke, and although he didn't have a lot of physical limitations, he had some cognitive limitations. And he looked at me, and I'll never forget the look in his face. And I said, Anthony, I do love to play crib, but for the life of me, I can't remember how to play. And I said, Rick, man, I'd love to show you. If you have some time, I'd love to take you through and show you how to play again. And he said that would be great. So we sat down, and I dealt out a hand of crib, and we played. And as I explained it to him, he kind of caught back on. But what I observed was as we finished a hand of crib and we went to play the next hand, he would forget how to play again. So literally for hours, I sat there with him playing the same hand of crib over and over and over again. Because guys, let me tell you, the look on his face every time that he remembered how to play was amazing. It's one of those things, like, it's engraved in my brain. It's in my DNA now. He lit up like a Christmas tree every single hand of crib we played. Guys, focus on giving. It's an amazingly powerful way to live your life. And it's an amazingly powerful way to run your business. Right now, it's important all the time, but right now during a global pandemic, it's even more important. How can you give to the people in your database? How can you give to the people in your neighborhood? How can you give to the realtor community? How can you give, I'm doing a mini version of my keynote presentation this Friday live on Facebook. It's going to be available for anyone in the world to watch. Anyone's going to be able to see that. Because I sat down and I said, what do I have to offer that I can give to people that's going to add value to their lives? What can I give? So that's going to be available for anyone in the world to watch on Friday. Please share it out on your social media, get people to watch, because I want to help as many people as I can. Guys, focus on giving. And you're going to see something that's an amazingly powerful concept in your life. When you focus on giving in your life and in your business, when you focus on giving, you're going to see that it's actually giving that starts the receiving process. And guys, this is all going back to be, do, have. So if we're trying to get things, if we're trying to have things, if we're trying to get, there's a good chance we're never actually going to get the things that we want. But if we flip it around, if we focus on giving, if we focus on being a generous, giving person, you're going to start to see that you're going to get a lot of things in your life, because it goes back to the be, do, have. So there's a great example. A lot of people might say, once I have a ton of money, I'm going to donate some money to charity and I'll be a generous person. But if you look at it that way, there's a good chance that you're never going to get there. But flip it around to be, do, have. Today, I'm going to choose to be a generous person. I make a certain amount of money every year, so I'm going to donate a portion of that to charity. And whatever I have as a result of that. It's such a powerful way to live your life. It's such a powerful way to run your business. And during a global pandemic, during this time of crisis, it's so much more, it's even more important, so important. And there's a great theory. So I got this from a close mentor of mine, Richard Robbins. He's got something called the potluck math theory. So everyone on here knows what a potluck dinner is, right? A potluck dinner is where everyone brings a dish of food to share with the people at the potluck dinner. But what ends up happening at a potluck dinner is, say we have a potluck dinner for 10 people, or there's 15 people on the call. Say we have a potluck dinner for 15 people. Everybody doesn't bring a dish of food to share with just one person. Everyone brings a dish of food that's enough to feed 15 people. So at a potluck dinner for 15 people, you end up having enough food to feed 30 people. It's an amazingly powerful way to live your life. Every interaction that you have, every engagement, every showing, every Zoom meeting, every presentation that you're doing, bring more to that engagement, bring more to that relationship that could possibly be consumed. It's going to be an amazingly powerful way to live your life. So focus on giving. And guys, I'm telling you, if you do this at a time when everyone else is fearful, everyone else is thinking about getting the toilet paper. Did anyone see the post I made? I guess you guys can't answer me. So I made a post. I had a few closings the last few weeks. And with our closing gift baskets, I was leaving rolls of toilet paper for people. And yeah, it was a little ha-ha moment, a cute little marketing tool. But it was also giving, because everyone else was out there rushing to get toilet paper. Everyone was taking all the toilet paper off the shelves. All I wanted to do was give. I wanted to have toilet paper so I could give to other people. The toilet paper that I was buying wasn't for me or my family. It was to give to clients. And during a time like this, that is going to be what sets you apart. Sorry, Chris, I know we're running over on time. During a time like this, during a global pandemic, during a challenging time of adversity, that is what's going to cause you to grow. That's what's going to cause your business to grow. Bring more to every interaction, to every relationship that could possibly be consumed. It's an amazingly powerful way to live your life. And during a time like this, like I said, the 80-20 rule has flipped. It's not so much an 80-20 rule now. I really believe we're going to move into a 95-5 rule. I believe that 5% of agents are going to be doing 95% of the business in most markets. And those things that we talked about today are things that are going to set you apart. That's what's going to put you in the 5%. And guys, I don't just say this. I live this. This is my life. So if you guys need anything from me, if there's anything that I can do to help you, if there's anything that I can do to help your business, if you want to bring me onto a Zoom call with your team, You know, I'm kind of known for my prospecting scripts. I do a lot of cold calling. I call a lot of web leads. If you want me to come on a Zoom call and do some training with your team, reach out to me. If you want a list of great books to read during your self-isolation time or your social distancing time, reach out to me. Email me, anthony@askanthony.ca. Text me, 902-240-4222. Message me on Facebook. You know, you guys, I don't just talk about this stuff, I live it. If there is anything at all that I can do to help you during this time, to help your family during this time, if you have a family or a friend that's having a tough time that needs a little pick-me-up, I would love to chat with them. If you have anyone that's in the hospital right now, I would love to chat with them. If there is anything that I can do to help you, to help your clients, to help your team, to help the people that you know, reach out to me, guys. That's what I want to do. During this time, during this global pandemic, I'm so focused on bringing value to the people around me. It's all I want to do. And the really good way is on Friday at 2 p.m. Atlantic time, 1 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to do a mini version of my entire keynote. So this was kind of a Cole's Notes real estate version of my talk. I'm going to be doing a miniature version of the full talk. Share it out. You know, that might help people in your database. It might help people on your social media database. Send it out to people and please reach out. Thank you guys so much. This was amazing. Thanks for your time. I know I ran a little bit over. I think we're going to open it up maybe for questions, Chris.
Yeah, so everybody who's on the line right now, go ahead and turn on your cameras. Be mindful of everybody else in terms of muting and unmuting your microphone. And let's open it up for questions. So who's got something for Anthony? I'll just lead in, Anthony. It seems that there may have been some confusion around the time difference between Atlantic time and some of the West Coast time zones. So for everybody who is having that experience, we are recording this and we will be changing it, or sorry, we will be uploading it to that Facebook group and sharing it with whoever's interested. So don't worry. Anthony,
All right.
Anthony,
Go ahead.
you brought a ton of material, and one of the things that you dialed in on there pretty early on was streamlining your process. And that's something that we're talking a lot about with agents right now. What are some of the ways that these guys can be streamlining their processes to make sure that they're getting good value out of their time in this condition?
Absolutely, man. And I think there's so many different levels to that. Like, I'm not sure what degree you want me to jump into, but there's ways you can streamline the way you run your team. If you're a broker owner, there's ways you can streamline of running your brokerage. If you're an individual agent, there's ways you can streamline, you know, your qualifying, your showing, your listing. It's all degrees of it. And honestly, like even some family stuff, like I've streamlined the way I talk to my parents and my nephews and my nieces. You know, it's way easier for me to jump in on Zoom and have a quick chat with my dad about how his business is doing than actually going in to see him in his office. A lot of I've streamlined a lot of my processes, but I'll tell you one thing, and I'll say that this is the biggest time saver is buyers. And I was like everyone else. If a client called me and had 15 homes that they wanted to see on a Saturday afternoon, and I was working, if that was time blocked, by the way, scheduling, guys, is equally as important right now, if not more important than it's ever been. If you're working from home, if you don't have as many appointments, schedule your time. It's equally as important. But if I had time blocked for client appointments Saturday afternoon, I probably would have showed that client 15 homes. I absolutely would have. I would have taken, you know, call it 4 or 5, 6 hours, and I would have been with that client. We would have drove around and looked at 15 homes. Now, there's no way I'm showing them 15 homes. I don't want to be in 15 homes with germs and COVID-19 and put on 15 sets of gloves and use 800 bottles of hand sanitizer. That doesn't make sense, right? So now we're doing a Zoom call. I'm sharing my screen with them, and we're going through those 15 houses, and we're eliminating probably 2/3 of them before we even go see them, because 2/3 of those 15 homes, realistically, they were never going to buy. Because at the end of the day, you know, maybe there was a hot water baseboard furnace in the basement that took up a corner of the rec room that they were never going to like. They were never going to buy the house because of that. Or maybe the walkout out of the basement was a dark, you know, the stairwells that go down. Maybe they were never going to buy it because of that. But if we hadn't gone through and talked about it and done kind of that point form analysis of the properties, I would have been out there for 4, 5, 6 hours showing 15 homes. That's a really, really good one. Another great one. So I was saying I did my first CMA, my first virtual CMA. So I had a Zoom call with a seller, and they took me through their home, and I got a firsthand look at everything in their home. And I might come back and say, listen, you know what? Based on that, I can't give you a definite number of what your house would be worth in the current market. Hi, Shauna.
Hi.
I can't tell you exactly what your house might sell for on the current market, but maybe, you know, it's worth somewhere between, you know, 380 and 400. And they say, oh, you know, we're definitely not going to list it if we can't get 425. And there's no way they're going to get 425 by it. I'm probably not going to go do that listing appointment that day. You know, I'm going to put them in my follow-up system. I'm going to keep following up with them, but I probably won't go take that listing presentation. Whereas 4 weeks ago, I would have. 4 weeks ago, I would have dropped everything and gone and done my listing presentation. And then I'll touch quickly on the team stuff. So I have a team, you know, two licensed admin, 4 agents right now. We've really streamlined the way the team communicates. We have a whole different level of group chat going. I don't know about you guys, but group chats have gone crazy since you stopped being able to see people. We're doing Zoom calls almost every day. You know, it was a struggle for me to get my team, all of my team together. My team, they're all, the 4 people that I have now are all high producing agents. It was difficult to get them in together at one time during the week for a face-to-face meeting every week. Now we're doing Zoom calls a couple times a week. You know, it's streamlined that process as well.
Okay, so we've got another question in the chats here from Kathy Whitewood. And if memory serves me correctly, Kathy, I believe, works in Greenwood, Nova Scotia.
Yeah, Kathy's in the Valley. I love Kathy. She's a great lady.
Yeah, so she's asking you what percentage of sellers are talking to about holding off their listings if they are in a high risk category.
So high risk category. So what I'm saying right now, and again, I kind of preface this presentation with this, high risk people is a different story. You know, I would not suggest, unless someone absolutely needed to sell, for example, someone's going to go into foreclosure if they don't sell, someone is being relocated and they absolutely have to sell. You know, anyone that's high risk, or that has someone that's high risk at home, or even like we're talking to some people, if they're a nursing staff, they're working in nurse, or if they're a pharmacy, working in a pharmacy every day, you know, they're interacting with sick people or unwell people every day. We're even chatting with some of those people, like, do you really need to sell right now, or can we hold off for a little while? Because at the end of the day, every little thing like that increases the risk for everyone. It increases the risk for me, my wife, my kids, potential buyers agents. So it's definitely a hard conversation that we're having, but reality is there are still people that need to sell. And it's been, I'll kind of say a little thing that's been driving me nuts. There's a lot of trashing real estate agents out there through this COVID-19. And even within the real estate community, guys, we need to be supportive of each other. We need to be supportive. There's some people that can't work now. There's some people that were away that are quarantined for 2 weeks that can't work. There's some people that are working probably too much. They're showing every house to every buyer, listing every house. We can't be trashing each other. We can't be getting down on each other. We need to be supportive during a time like this. I know that was a little bit of a side rant. Did that answer your question a little bit?
Did.
Okay.
Any questions from anybody else?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I had a really hard time with this. I had to call my IT guy yesterday to get me set up on the microphone. I've done Zoom meetings with friends and colleagues, and they're fantastic. But I like this format. This is better. Whatever system this is that you guys set this up on.
Lean forward a little bit more when you're talking.
Oh, lean forward?
Or do you have an earpiece in? You're a little bit muffled.
Am I muffled?
You're a little bit better now.
Okay, I'll hold it up. Great to see you guys. Can you hear? Oh, maybe, can you hear me?
Nope, I can hear you.
Okay, no, this is awesome. I had the wrong time down though. I thought it was 2 o'clock. I just joined in, so I'm glad you recorded it.
Crazy Western time zones. And listen, guys, like you guys, like you have me right now. You can ask me questions about real estate. You can ask me questions about prospecting, teams, life. books, ways to kill time. Like, I'm here, I'm available now until I have to go up and have supper. You know, pick my brain on whatever you guys can think of.
Well, it's my birthday today.
Happy birthday to
Thank
you.
you.
Happy
Yep.
birthday.
So
Happy
I've got-
birthday.
Thank you, Lori. So I've got chats coming in from 3 to 4 with my kids, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7. So I'm tied up all day. So it'll be a great day. Great isolation birthday.
So that's a great point. So you guys want to know one of the most amazing things that you can do right now for the people that you know is send them a happy birthday video, right? So think about this. People right now for their birthdays, they're in their house. They can't see their extended family. They can't see their friends. They can't go out for drinks. They can't go out for dinner. You can't even take your family out for a birthday supper, right? You're stuck at home. You're not getting cards. You're not getting flowers. You're not getting presents, right? So if you guys take the time to send a happy birthday video, just a quick one like, hey, Lori's, or hey, Shauna's, I was going to use Lori's, it was actually Shauna's birthday, so we'll use her. Hey, Shauna, so it was your birthday today. I wanted to send you a quick note to make sure that you had a great day amongst all this chaos and craziness. I hope you and yours are doing really well. If there's anything I can do for you, reach out anytime. Cheers. If you send that video out to people right now, that has an impact, guys. Like, that's a great strategy all the time. I think a birthday video to your database is much more effective than a birthday card. But at a time like this where people aren't getting that face-to-face interaction, that has such a higher impact. That leaves an impression. I'm not thinking about me. I'm not thinking about getting business from Shauna. I'm not thinking about getting referrals from Shauna. I'm thinking about trying to make her day better by sending her a nice happy birthday message.
Great idea, for sure. Thank you.
Anything else, guys?
I'm good. I'm going to listen to your taped recording, and then I might have questions after that.
Anytime, email, text, send me a message on Facebook. I'm here.
You betcha.
Okay, I guess that's going to be it, Anthony. We'll wrap it up. I just really sincerely want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to do exactly what you said that you're going to do, and that's come from contribution and to share and to be open. And you live that and demonstrate that over and over in your life. And I know there's a lot of agents that have been, and just a lot of people in general that have really been impacted by you and the contributions that you so openly share. So thank you so much. And for anybody who's on the
My pleasure.
Anybody who's on the call will be uploading this video right to the group as soon as it renders afterwards. So please go there and have a look at it. And thanks again, everybody. Have a great day.
Yeah, listen, guys, stay safe, be smart.
Yeah, you too. Everybody stay safe.
Anthony.